Was your mom emotionally distant from you as a child? And is it affecting you today? Do you maybe watch movies about moms just loving their children, hugging them, crying maybe, and you say, where the hell was that when I grew up? I never know what that's like. I've never experienced that kind of connection before. Maybe your mom wasn't hurtful, manipulative, terrible, but maybe she was just colder, more distant. Maybe she didn't share affection. Maybe she didn't say she loved you. Most people will say, I know she loved me, but she never really said it and she didn't show it in the traditional ways. Today, I want to talk to you about avoidantly attached moms. There are many avoidant women out there, and they are what we call ethically avoidant, where they're not manipulative, not hurtful, not attacking, maybe not even very critical. They're just a little bit more withdrawn than other mothers. This does usually leave a very lasting impact on a child, and we need to discuss that today for the women out there right now who might be avoidant and be moms, and for people who are growing up that way or did grow up that way and now are dealing with it. I'm Adam Lane Smith, the attachment specialist, and a lot of people who come to me have avoidant mothers or moms with other similar issues where it makes the love inconsistent or barely there. Let's talk about that today. By the end of this video, I want you to understand the impact of motherhood on children and where we are supposed to be sourcing most of our early life love, affection, stability, and safety from. And then I want to show you what to do about it. If you're a mom yourself, or maybe if you're a man who is married to a woman and you're having children together and you wonder if she might be a little bit avoidant. One of the primary issues that I see with avoidantly attached moms is that they don't have much oxytocin themselves. They haven't had that experience of real oxytocin bonding. So they have fairly low GABA, so they have high cortisol. So they're constantly managing their own stress level quite often. They also don't have much oxytocin, so they don't feel that level of compulsive affection that most moms get when they just want to smother their baby in kisses, hold them, squeeze them, talk to them, play with them, all those things. That is a spontaneous display of affection that's actually compelled by internal affection, internal oxytocin levels. Avoidantly attached moms tend not to get that very much. So their children could have verbal delays. I've seen that quite often because she doesn't baby talk to them. A little bit early on is okay, but she doesn't talk to the child endlessly. Talk. How you doing, baby? What are you doing? This is a spoon. This is this. How you doing? And just going on and on and on like a mom whose brain is flooded with oxytocin. A lot of moms who have avoidant attachment style, because they have low oxytocin, they also have low milk supply, or more specifically, it makes it hard for the baby to draw the milk, so it looks like a milk supply issue. So then she switches to the bottle and formula instead. Sometimes this is a relief for moms with avoidant attachment style because the flood of oxytocin they did get during breastfeeding was almost uncomfortable. It made them feel strange and weird, and they didn't know what to do about it. A lot of avoidant moms switch to the bottle on purpose because that level of closeness and intimacy, it actually makes them creeped out. So that does happen. And then your baby doesn't get the fullness of oxytocin they should be getting from you. So they don't bond to you and you don't bond to them. This is not some dark, insidious plot where it's on purpose and it's like, I hope my child doesn't love me. It really is something that the woman deals with and that she doesn't know how to fix because she hasn't experienced that oxytocin before. Breastfeeding, I'll just take a stand on this, massively important to have as much breastfeeding as possible between mom and baby to continue the oxytocin supply, which also, by the way, boosts your immune system for both of you, also gives a child so many antibodies and so much oxytocin and such a healthy, secure attachment in many ways for the rest of their life. It's the basis of a lot of secure attachment for a child to flood with oxytocin. And then you flood with oxytocin. And then what do you do between breastfeedings? Well, you talk to the baby, you play with the baby, you hold the baby's hand, you move the baby around, you help the baby dance, you do all kinds of stuff because your brain is swimming in oxytocin. Your husband walks in the door and goes, what the hell am I walking into here? And you're sitting there playing with the baby, singing songs about rabbits and goblins and all kinds of stuff. It's because your brain is swimming in it from the breastfeeding effect. So I highly recommend as much breastfeeding as humanly possible. Do that continuously. It's very, very important, especially at least for that first year of life, guys. Look up some of the research, talk to a lactation consultant. Yes, they exist. Go out there and have that connection. But a lot of avoidantly attached moms won't do this because they're oxytocin phobic. They're not bad. It's just, it makes it feel so weird. And then they struggle to do it. And they might feel like a bad mom because they're not producing as much. So then they create that distance. They have the formula, the bottle. Everything seems like it's perfectly okay. A lot of avoidant moms don't know how to foster that deeper intimacy. And it begins with the breastfeeding process. And then Child could have verbal delays, emotional delays, social delays. A lot of times when mom is more distant emotionally and aloof, the baby doesn't understand why. And the baby starts trying to get mom to interact. There's something called the blank face problem, where mom is just blank face, low oxytocin, and just looking around and calm like this and not doing anything and not mimicking and talking to the baby and doing all kinds of stuff. And the baby sees mom have a blank face and the baby is like, what am I doing wrong? This is why a lot of moms who have avoidant attachment style accidentally create children who have anxious attachment style, because the child is craving that oxytocin. It's actually their measurement of safety, because it says you're not going to abandon me in the woods to get eaten by wolves, right? The brain is very old, wolf territory kind of old. And so the baby thinks you're going to abandon them. Now imagine being a 1-year-old baby who is not getting breastfed appropriately and the bottle is happening instead. Now you feel disconnected and rejected, and you're afraid in your brain that your mom's going to leave you in the forest to die and get eaten by wolves. That's often what happens, unfortunately. And this is not to guilt anybody or make anyone feel bad. It's just that this is the difficulty of avoidant attachment style, especially in moms. The baby now usually is left craving that connection. Now, what happens with moms who have very low oxytocin? Oftentimes they are a bit more critical about noisy children. They are a little bit more snappish sometimes, and they really just want the child to not be clinging to them endlessly. They don't understand what's happening or why. So they really emphasize independence, and they praise the child lavishly for independent behavior because they're trying to get them off of them. Self-reliance. Was it a major factor for you maybe growing up in your home, or is it a major factor for your children now? Over self-reliance, right? Learn how this emphasis on independence might have affected your relationship now with your mother or with your partner. Do you treat her, like if you're a man out there with an avoidant woman, do you treat her craving for independence almost as a threat, like you're going to die in the forest and get eaten by wolves? Is your brain linking back to that childhood memory of I'm going to get abandoned and die? A woman's approval and a woman's nurturing makes you feel safe, but now you have one who is also equally disconnected from you. Doesn't mean she's actually doesn't love you. Avoidant women are fully capable of love and care. It's just that theirs looks very different. They're based more on like, if somebody comes to kill you, I will spear them in the face. I will stand beside you in the battle line and I will feed you no matter what it takes. I will do everything necessary to keep our family alive, right? More like, almost like an orc wife rather than like a snuggly bunny wife, if you want to think of it that way. Snuggly bunny wife and orc wife. Completely different category here. Avoidantly attached women are prioritizing survival, hardcore survival. They usually prioritize a career of their own because they don't trust anyone else to bring in the finances and be stable enough to do it. So they usually be drifting more toward a career as fast as possible. Not always, but usually. And they encourage as much independence as the children as possible so that she has more distance and doesn't have this little life form clinging to her desperately, because she doesn't usually get it and it feels pretty uncomfortable. Now, for sons of avoidant moms, often that does create that anxious attachment style, that endless craving. For daughters of avoidant moms, it's interesting. It can create more avoidant women, and it can. She doesn't connect to me, therefore I'm on my own. I've seen things like the young woman feels unsupported and uncared for, so then she goes into puberty early to try to link up to different partners. She becomes sexually active early to try to link up to someone who is going to provide some stability for her. A lot of it depends on what the dad is doing, but with an avoidant mom and then a dad, usually the dad is pretty anxious and he's chasing female approval. There's very few secure men who then connect with avoidant women. This doesn't typically happen. It can. But just in my experience, it just doesn't happen that often. Usually what happens is avoidant woman with anxious, nice guy tendencies, she connects to him. Then they have a child. The girl feels unsupported, and then she is smothered by dad and disconnected from mom, so she becomes avoidant herself. Her and mom go at fighting all the time and fighting, so she becomes more avoidant. And then the son is anxious and desperately craving that approval and that connection. That's what I've seen, unfortunately, in that dynamic quite often. Not always, you guys, and it's not always a death sentence. It's not. But just be aware that people with attachment issues beget people with attachment issues. Mom is supposed to be, for the first few years of our life, the primary driver of flooding with oxytocin. And if she's not, if she's uncomfortable and disconnected from that oxytocin surging, then the child may not get any oxytocin or very little, very inconsistent. So their measurement of safety is gone. This affects you immensely as an adult because you'll be obsessed with that drug you didn't get, or you won't know what that feels like at all, and it will start to feel uncomfortable for you. Okay? So moms out there right now, If you have avoidant attachment style, have you gone through the checklist to see if you do? Do you struggle with emotional closeness? Do you struggle with doing the typical things of showing them intimacy and affection? Did you maybe have a milk issue? Did you maybe have a letdown issue especially? Was it hard for you to form that connection with your child? Do you wonder what other moms see in their children? Did your babies maybe not look the most adorable to you? Maybe they looked like little rat babies and you were like, why is this thing so precious? Like, I care about it, but let's stay alive. Were you more focused on survival than you were on that bonding and intimacy? It's very possible that you were avoidantly attached, right? This is not the end of everything. What you can do is foster a lot of bonding in yourself and become comfortable with that. I work with a lot of women who have avoidant attachment style who want to show up more warmly and nurturingly inside their romantic relationships and in their parenting relationships. It's very possible. It's a natural process. It's kicking you out of pure survival and getting you more into a nurturing, thriving sort of state. For guys out there who might be with an avoidant woman, are you concerned about the well-being of your children? It's not likely she's going to harm them on purpose, but are you concerned about their emotional well-being? Are you worried they're starving emotionally? You can step in and provide some of that. Do not triangulate and alienate her like it's us against her, but you can provide a lot of that nurturing and bonding, not only to the children, but also to her. Keep in mind that a lot of avoidantly attached women are more ethically avoidant, so it's just that they've never really experienced the fullness of emotional bonding. They don't know what that's like. So getting them to a point where they can accept it, hugely beneficial for the whole family. I have seen family structures where the man goes out, becomes securely attached, fixes his anxious attachment style, usually, and then he comes back and he offers that intimacy to his avoidant wife. Now it's hard because she's like, very standoffish, like, what are you trying to do? Please stand back, sir. Stand behind the yellow line, right? You don't have a ticket for this ride. But as he comes back and starts sharing that intimacy with her, if he can guide her into it, or watch some videos, show her some videos, give her the information, if she can begin understanding what's been missing, then she can really flourish in it. And then she can start providing that intimacy to the children. Help them understand. Give context. Hey, mom really, really loves you with all of her heart. Mom just wasn't raised with that level of connection, so she doesn't know how to show it. Show it to her, and let's all work together as a family to start showing connection and affection to each other on purpose. Let's, as a family, make this our new project, right? Great thing to do. Bring them into it. It's not about saving mom from herself. It's about building a different kind of family where everybody can feel loved and relaxed and connected. It's a whole experience that you can share together as a family. Just be aware that if you had an avoidant mom yourself, it's very hard to go back and change mom. Not always, not impossible, but it's very difficult to go back and change mom now and say, okay, mom, you're like 60 years old. I need you to start crying and hugging a lot more, like 15 times more than you're currently doing. You know, it's hard to breastfeed when she's 60 years old. It's hard to go back in time, but what you can do is talk to her about a relationship you'd like to have. Talk to her about an experience you'd like to share with her. Talk to her about bonding in a different way. Don't go backwards and say you didn't. Go forwards into, could we do this together? This would mean a lot to me. Are you willing to do this? The really cool thing is that avoidant moms, many of them actually greatly care about their children. They just don't know how to show it in a way that their kids perceive. They perceive it. They know it. They recognize it. They feel it in their bones. But their kids often don't. So moms out there, my caution to you, if you're avoidantly attached, I have no judgment for you at all. None. But I will say this. Make sure that you are doing your best to learn about what you can and should be offering your children to make them as emotionally and mentally resilient as possible in this world. It's good to help them survive. It is better to help them thrive. That is what I have to say on that. And I will say it again and again and again for as long as I'm here to do this work. If you need help with this, please don't hesitate to reach out. I work with all kinds of women going through experiences like this who want to step in and be like more in their feminine energy, people say, but frankly, just to become more secure and to step forward as moms and maybe as wives. It will make you happier. It will help you feel more fulfilled, and it will help all of those biochemicals that you've been missing, all those pieces that you feel like are just not there on the inside. We can get those for you. Okay. I can show you how to do that. Me or one of my coaches or my coaching programs or my coaching group, whatever you need, please let me know. I am here to assist. Drop a comment below. Guys, I would love to hear from you. Did you have an avoidant mom growing up? Are you an avoidant mom right now and you're struggling with some of these concerns? If you have questions as an avoidant mom, please drop them down in the comments. I am happy to answer them. And as always, you guys can reach me on my email at support@adamlanesmith.com. On my website, adamlanesmith.com, there's a whole type form for contact me. Put your info in there. I will be in touch and we will help take care of this. So do not feel like this is the end of the road. It's only the wonderful beginning for a great story. Okay? Moms, salute to you doing your best out there, and people who grew up with a difficult mom, the story gets better from here. So I am Adam Lane Smith, the attachment specialist. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It really supports the channel in a big way. And send me your questions. I'm ready to help.